Welcome to All Worn Out. I'm your host, Warren Meredith. On the show today, musician Ray Howard. He's out of Montreal, and he's in a rock band called Vinyl Hero. When he's not writing, recording, playing great shows with them, he's also in a cover band. He's a very busy musician. Let's get into it now with Ray Howard. Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Worn Out.
And Ottawa represent.
It's a podcast about music.
I know.
It's a podcast.
It's a podcast about music.
About what you're passionate about, and it's a podcast about what our guest is passionate about. Look at this
And right now it's voguing, so.
Look at this amazing, incredible, talented, bodacious, vivacious.
Man, you're using a lot of acious words in there, man.
He's electric. He is the amazing Ray Howard.
Thank you. Yes, ha ha ha. Joke 5 all at once. No, please, hold the applause.
Ray.
But hey, man, how you doing? Warren.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Ray, you are from Vinyl Hero. That is your claim to the rock and roll fame of this game. And
yeah.
Right? And,
more game than fame, but yeah, that's the one.
Hey man, we're in Canada. You know, it's not very populated up here. We do the best we can.
It's all fun and games till someone gets a puck in the eye, you know what I mean?
Oh.
So,
Well, that's right. You're from Montreal, right? Or you're in Montreal?
I'm in Montreal. I was originally hatched in St. Thomas, Ontario.
Oh, and
yeah. I've even lived in Owen Sound.
Oh wow! I don't think many.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think many people live there. You know, so
there's anytime when we first started going to Toronto and playing Ontario shows and stuff like that, they'd be like, "Where are you guys from?" And be like, "Well, we're from Montreal." It's like, "Well, you don't sound French." I'm like, "Well, that's mostly because my bass player is Greek." But I'm like, I tell everybody I was born in Ontario, and they're like, where? And they're like, St. Thomas. They're like, where's that? And it's like, you fucking live here. Really? Okay. So it's pretty rough when you have to explain to everybody. It's like, well, it's the railroad capital of the country. So, you know, like just, I'm glad your history books have done you well. So,
man,
but yeah, no, look, I maintain that like I'm from Ontario and I love Ontario, and my parents live out in Ontario, and most of all of the Vinyl Hero fans that I know of are all in Ontario. There's a lot here too. They show up sporadically and manifest themselves in different ways, but like we've spent a lot of time on the 401. I don't know to what extent it's paid off, but I mean, like, here we are talking to each other, so it can't be that bad. But no, 514. I'm a 514, man. Like I'm a lifer for the 514. You know, and I love my city. I love Montreal's an amazing city.
How'd you get
I hate
there?
the traffic.
How'd you get there?
The honest answer is fucked if I know. But I've
like, did you meet the love of your life in Montreal, or did you meet the love of your life somewhere else? And I don't mean music.
Oh, no. I was raised in a musical family. Everybody in my family either is or was a musician on my mom's side. Her and my dad weren't always together. That's a completely different therapy session for another day. But her and my dad were together when I was younger, and then now they've been together for the last almost 15, 20 years again. Yeah, interesting story. It's weird. So
I
was a kid. I know, it's crazy, and they're amazing. And considering my age, I have very young parents, and they've gone to fucking see Metallica more times than I have. So, you know, with confrontation and stuff like that with me and my old man, it's mostly who had the more satanic lyrics? Was it Ozzy or Dio? And it's just really, this is okay. Yeah.
What's the answer? Okay, what is your answer to that? Because
to be honest,
Geezer Butler, he's definitely credited with the lyrics for Ozzy. I don't know if he did the lyrics for Dio. I don't know that or not. But I mean, I think the lyrics are a little bit different with Dio. There is, but they still do heaven and hell, and you know.
See, that's the thing. I think they both did very much like the satanic dark arts, kind of like dark arts, if you will, or whatever. It's like everybody's favorite grandpa, for fuck's sakes. Come on. But I think like the Aussie time of Black Sabbath had like way more of the literal, it's like Suicide Solution and stuff like that. Like all the stories you hear about like him, it's like whether or not he was sitting in a circle of sand with a pentagram on it or something like that. We'll never know. But I find Ozzy will always have more of the literal evil shit. And then when you get to the Dio stuff, it's very much more like an epic or more, mystical sense of evil or dark kind of thing,
Excellent description. Excellent
yeah,
description.
that's it's like when everybody says like what's the difference between like Hagar and Roth, and it's just like as far as the front man goes, no matter what, whether you were listening to a recording or you were seeing whether on video or live of the Roth days of Van Halen, it's always very theatrical. Like there's always an essence, like even on the recordings, like Unchained, right? Like when they bring it down, like you hear Dave talking to the engineers, like, "Hey man, that suit is you. You'll get some leg tonight for sure." And they bust right back into the song. When you hear "Hot for Teacher," and if you've seen the music video, you can just picture the game show host moment or the whole dance sequence, even without watching it. Like that's what that Roth era and just, like they were very much crazy and throwing shit to the wall at that point and going like, this will work no matter what. When they got Hagar, it was very much about like, let's write a song. Let's write, like a vocal line. Let's write like heavy harmonies. Let's make it very, very much about the music kind of thing, which nothing wrong on either generation. And Gary Sharon's the one that got screwed the most. So, I mean,
man, the thing is, last night we were talking about this with Erin Maiden about how she was saying like when she covers the Roth era, she doesn't really like that she has to do those. What was the vocal line you just said? Like, "Hey ladies," or like whatever he does, like. She doesn't like that.
It's like one break.
Yeah,
coming up.
Right, and that's always in all of his songs. And she was like, "I don't like doing it."
Or even never mind like the image, right? Like just in Hot for Teacher. Oh, I wonder what she's gonna look like this year. It's like, oh man, I think I brought my pencil. Give me something to write on. It's like, do you know? Like you're a singer, man. It's like, how much breath is wasted for that, right? And like that's like the guy who like, I warm up before shows and I do shit to like make sure I can still do this and putting it back together and whatnot, right? Like, and then it's like just David Lee Roth goes on stage just being in David Lee Roth and it's just like, and it's like so not fair. It's so not fair.
So much energy. So much energy.
So much energy.
The thing about
so much energy.
Ozzy, you were saying about Ozzy and the pentagram.
Yeah.
I think, he was definitely sitting in a circle of cocaine at one point. There's no doubt. And then he definitely.
I think, yeah. It was like everybody's like, it was the sands of time. It's like, the sands of time. Yeah,
yes,
that's the one.
Exactly, the sands of time.
So it's, man, like. And also, it's I used to work at Steve's Music Store in Montreal, and one of the managers there used to tell me, it's like, man, you guys will never. And of course, it's always like that generational thing. Like, look, when we get to our 60s and our 70s, and we're seeing kids smoking weed or whatever, it's like you'll never know the good shit that we had with the purple kush and the blah blah blah, and be like, yeah, whatever, old man. You know what I mean? But it's just I really think. Like Tim Henson can make fun of the boomer bands all he fucking wants or whatever. The foundation and the godsend, the godspell, the godspeed of everything that we have that came from like 70s and on was all during that boomer time, if you will, kind of thing. And there is something to be said about the boomer generation of drugs because for some reason Keith Richards is still outliving all of us, okay? Mick still goes on stage and kills it for 2.5 hours without busting a sweat. And as much as everybody will be like, oh, it's like they're not Motley Crue. That is not a backing track, okay? Like that shit's happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and what I was amazed by with Rolling Stones is the prep work that goes into it. It's like they prep for 175 days before they go on tour. Every day, going into this room, repeat.
And that's just to do like 40 shows, right? They're just like,
yeah.
it's a cakewalk from there. But
Yep.
it's like, dude, do you know how much yoga Mick Jagger has to do to be able to do that? Like,
Right?
he's 82 this year. I'm just going like, yeah, whatever, mate. We can make it happen. Yeah, let's do it. And like, he's gonna like, what?
It's
No.
commitment, it's blood
Yeah, like,
transfusions, and it's stem cell infusion.
I think the heroin was just like really good back then. That's the other thing.
Wow, man, they got really special stuff if that's the case.
Preservation was everything to those people. Like, their parents grew up and came from a time of the Depression, right? That was all about preserving shit. So just
They ate enough pickled foods over the years. It protected
it
them.
would have had to have been
Something like that.
something just encased itself or cocooned itself around Keith Richards' heart, and that's why no matter what, it just keeps going.
Yeah. It'll be a sad day. The world might end when he does pass. Like it is.
You know, man, there's like one already went where like I literally found out like, you know, it's like, oh man, this guy passed away, and I just started bawling because I'm like, no. You know, I think there's like a handful of those guys that like when they go, it's not just like, oh man, we lost a talent. Like, you know, like the two singers in question. One was Chris Cornell. I was taking a nap. It was during the time my youngest had just been born. I was on paternity leave and whatever. And so I was taking a nap and woke up and she told me, she's like, Chris Cornell died. And I just I just like busted into tears and whatever. And like I know, and I will always credit like Stone Temple Pilots as way more of like an infusing building block in like whatever it is that I do as a singer, a songwriter, a guitar player, a musician. Like you know, if I'm playing bass, like what would Robert Delio do? Like da da da. You know, if I'm sitting behind drums with a friend of mine or whatever, it's like, you know, like Eric Kretz had it down just all the time. When Scott Whalen passed, it was like I was just like.
Yeah.
He's really like it just messed with me, but the Cornell thing just broke me, right? Like
Did you read the story about Scott Whalen that was put out in Derek Whibley's book? So Derek Whibley claimed that they were at a party and he didn't even recognize him. He didn't even recognize Whalen. And then he was like, "Oh shit, it's him."
Scott Whalen.
Yeah, it's him. And so then they were with Paris Hilton, okay, in a bedroom, the three of them doing drugs, doing cocaine. And the police came in. People were yelling, "Cops are here, cops are here." So the three of them jump under the blankets together because they decided that they were going to pretend to have an orgy. And that when the cops came in, they would just be like, "Oh, they're just having crazy sex. They're just having crazy sex." So Whibley,
awesome.
Yeah. So Whibley says he gets under the covers, and all of a sudden he feels Scott's hand going up his leg, and he goes, "Scott, we're just joking. We're just pretending. We're just pretending." And Scott goes, "Oh, I thought we were really doing it." You know, like, and now it's like, oh, that's so good. That's so good. But I mean, you know,
oh shit, sorry. That's awesome.
It's true.
That's awesome.
We're losing these legends who were just truly outstanding vocalists. Maybe we'll never see that batch again, like that batch of vocalists that came out from that same place at that same time.
Well, there's and like, look, as far as like, you know, people have slightly more celebrity than you or I, Warren. Tad, just Tad.
Are you sure?
A hair or two, you know, we'll decide where it's coming from after.
Okay.
But like, what's his name? One guy that I dig as like one of these whole like, motherfucker, you just keep singing, just keep whatever you're doing. Is Jay Buchanan from the Rival Sons.
Huh.
Like that dude just wow, just wow.
I'll go all the way back to Electric Man. And I as one of their songs, and I just would challenge any vocalist to do that song better. And I to
pull that off, right?
And do it better than that.
Yeah.
I just highly doubt it. I highly doubt you will pull it off. And if you do, kudos. But like, he is such a powerhouse. And you're right.
Yeah.
There is incredible vocalists right now. Well,
like, look, Oh, sorry, 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 go, go.
I don't know, and like you were saying about Chris Cornell, man, like when those guys passed, it was brutal, and Cornell had such an influence on the whole music scene, not just with his music. And I always remind
But
people of this that like
but that's why it took me down
right,
like even further than way like I like again like like again when anybody's like, well, what are your main influences, blah blah blah. And I'm sure we're gonna get into that after. Um, yeah, like STP like were infused into me long before I even knew they were STP to start with, right? So like that building block of like their music, their sound, like just that thing as a whole. Like I don't know if you ever had the chance to see the Stone Temple Pilots, but it's like, like if you go to a Guns N' Roses show, like everybody takes a solo, Duff goes to sing a song, Frank's like beating the shit out of the drums. Fortis is mental slash just in 3.5 hours will manage to play more guitar than Ian Thornley will in fucking 16 shows. Mathematically does not work, but universally it does. You have to see it to believe it. Um, and that's what you go see Guns N' Roses for. But like, when you go see Stone Temple Pilots, it's like not like Eric Kretz is going to go bananas from like, hitting his kit by himself. You're not going to see Dean rip it for 15 minutes because like, well, he needs to take a breath, so fuck it. They were just, damn. Same thing with Alice in Chains. It's just like when you go see Alice in Chains, it's like, well, there's no fancy light show or pyro. It's like, yeah, they don't fucking
need
need it,
it.
dude.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
don't need it. They're
Uh-uh.
four dudes. They walk on stage, and the minute that note drops, you're like, oh,
Yeah, I mean, I think Lane Staley, to many people that speak with me about this, they'll say like Lane he takes the cake. So out of that group, out of that whole group of vocalists, and I mean, Eddie Vedder, of course, wins because he's been around the longest and probably made the most albums out of that group. So Vedder probably
see, kids, when they
wins.
say sobriety doesn't pay off, look at Eddie Vedder.
Big
So,
time, big time. And
yeah.
of course, Cornell is the one who introduces Vedder to that band and helps create Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
And so it's just like it's a beautiful scene. It has so many great stories in
Uh,
it, so much folklore.
well, you see, like I've talked like a lot of musician friends and people I've worked with over the years and everything like that. And the one thing that is endearing about the Seattle thing, right? And not necessarily just about the bands that came out of it and all the music. And it was just like, dude, like, fuck, dude, like, there's great bands, there's great everything everywhere all the time that has never changed, whatever. But like you were saying, like the folklore, right? Like, the Sunset Strip, like that, like, in the 70s and 80s, it was the Sunset Strip. In the 90s, we had that Seattle scene. And what made it one, and even early mid 80s too, because I mean, like it exploded and got known in the 90s. But like I was,
It was
oh,
building.
by the way, Dog and Gus told me to make fun of you, but I don't care what they say. You're cool to me, Warren. No, I'm kidding. Those guys were awesome. They said nothing but wonderful. Yeah, exactly, exactly. No,
Ah,
like I was telling them, it's just like it's just like we go like, oh, but they were '90s bands. It's like, man, fucking Soundgarden was around since like '85.
yeah, yeah, and
You know,
yeah, and Kirk.
like they had time to hone in on their shit.
Yeah, Nirvana was
You know
at
what I
it for
mean?
a while. Nirvana didn't just start and then blow up. Cobain was
Like,
at that
like,
for a while.
like Dave Grohl was there for the quadrillion selling platinum record. He was drummer number 3. So like, yeah, well, they were a '90s band. Like, fuck no. Do you not understand? Like, overnight success is not overnight.
Yeah.
People don't seem to get it. It's just like out of nowhere. It's just like, yeah, out of nowhere. There's like maybe there's a handful of artists that I will not name. Haha. That nowadays you can be like, yeah, that was an overnight thing, or like, there's no way in hell they
Mm,
spent time in a van or did the tours or dug it
mm,
out or paid their dues
right.
or any of that. You can just tell in the quality of the music, the singer, the voice, the lyrics. You can tell in the choice of lyrics. I think there's something about it that like is just not there anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Um, but what made that Seattle scene so important, and it wasn't necessarily the music. It was how those guys had each other.
Yeah.
Like, if like Soundgarden were playing, hey, tomorrow night, like, Mother Love, like when Mother Love Bone was still a thing, it was like, well, Mother Love Bone is going to be here along, and like, Mother Love Bone would play and be like, oh man, it's going to be Alice in Chains and Nirvana on that day. And then like Mudhoney and Tad are playing that day. And it's just like, yeah. And it wasn't like, well, like we're going to close it. It was like, flip a coin, fuck it, who cares, man? People are thirsty.
Yeah.
And that's how it should always be. Everybody has this griping thing where it's just like, well, who's on this and who's on top? Who fucking cares?
You know what?
Like,
I would love to say that's a local thing only, but it's not. Like, if you get into the stories about like the Black Crowes going on tour with Aerosmith, and the Aerosmith drummer was like,
but you see, like that's the thing. Like the three biggest differences between like local and unsigned and all the bigger acts: money, promotional team, the bank account. And money and bank account are not the same thing. There's the money that they use for you, and then there's the money you get. And let's face it, a lot of the time, especially nowadays, just because you got the first two, don't mean you get the third one either, okay?
Excellent point. Excellent point.
So like you got to think about it. Like we did a run of shows or tour. I think it was 2023. Anyway, like last year, right? And I was making the jokes, and like look, musically, I loved Motley Crue. I fucking loved Motley Crue, man. Like, dude, like Shock the Devil, like Dr. Feelgood, Generation. I love people look at me like I'm mental, man. I love Generations One. I think that is a brilliant record. I don't love every song on it, but it was just like, yo, man, if this is the first time you're getting back together with Vince, it's a hell of a swing, Like, you got to give credit for the creativity. We went left field with it and shit, right? And that's fine. That's great. Like everybody's like, oh, John 5. And like, honestly, the John 5 thing, you got the sickest guitar player you could think of to replace Mick Mars. Wonderful. 10 years ago. If you were really into for all the stories that we've heard now, right? If you were into it, like, to get rid of them 10 years ago when apparently playing was really a problem, right?
Yeah.
Don't do it after you renege on your word about retiring and it's the four of us or it's nothing. And then on top of that, you got the most overqualified for your band guitar player to be on stage with you. And every one of you is using a playback. Like Tommy and John 5 do not need it. Tommy Lee is still like one of my favorite drummers of all time. I think he's like just a beast. I love him. I love John 5. Motley Crue is one of my favorite bands.
It was just the boys from
$150 to hear a playback machine do your job, when every one of my friends, my colleagues, my compatriots, people I look up to, people that are levels higher than me, I've opened for some bigger acts that have to still work their shit like no one can comprehend. But we're going to pay $150 for a playback machine. So my thing about our run or tour was like, you know what? Come and see local bands. You know why? Because for the 10 to 20 bucks it's going to cost you, we're going to work 10,000 times harder. 2, you're going to get a way more honest show and something fresh. And 3, we're indie musicians. We can't afford the playback machine that's going to fuck up halfway through. Because we at least you're getting it honestly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if we fumble, it's because I fumbled. Because the drummer missed something. It's because your bass player missed a fucking note. It's not because someone didn't press the space bar at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a travesty.
Yeah.
So, this whole tier of thing where, like, again, it goes back to ego and money and everything like that. It's just like, like the story you heard about the Black Crowes and everything like that. It's like, yeah, man, it wasn't cool what Aerosmith did to them. But then fucking 10 years later, they just do it to each other and every other band that opens for them. So.
See, but isn't this the problem or the issue, or maybe it's not, but this is a thing with the music industry, that the shit rolls downhill and that it's all about stepping on the little guy to move yourself forward. It's all about making sure that the opening...
Which Which maybe, look, maybe I've been the little guy. I mean, I'm only like 5'10", so like I'm not tall to start with.
I'm
and
only
shit.
5'7" and 3/4.
Yes, but when you're dressed like a pirate, you look 6'2", my friend. You phenomenal, by the way. Your music videos are
Oh,
fucking awesome, by
thanks,
the way.
brother.
But again, like the whole thing, it's like you got to step on the little guy. I mean, it's like I don't know. If I was that guy here trying to get to here, wouldn't you want to step on the fucking bigger guy to make a point?
You'd think so.
You know?
You'd think so.
And I think that's what became the problem, like later on around the late 80s, early 90s, right? Because that's when bands had to start watching what was going on. Because when you think of all the times that, like, you know, you hear the stories of, like, you know, Van Halen opened for Sabbath and like overtook it.
Yeah.
Guns opened for Aerosmith and overtook it. And it wasn't like it was a crime back then. It was like a badge of honor. It was just like, you know, there's stories with Duff McKagan where he's just, you know, one night we started opening for Aerosmith. You know, the first couple nights people are just like, what the fuck are these guys? And then, like, you know, a couple more shows. Few people in the front row wearing Guns N' Roses t-shirts. And then, like, a couple more shows after that, half the front row is wearing Guns N' Roses t-shirts. And then it gets to the point where, like, the arena is half Guns and half Aerosmith t-shirts, to the point where Steven Tyler goes on stage and says, you know, once upon a time, the Rolling Stones had a son, they named it Aerosmith. And now Aerosmith has had a son, and we call it Guns N' Roses. Like that, you can't get a bigger passing of a torch, a bigger badge of honor, a bitter giving of, like, fucking run with it, go,
Yeah.
go. You know, those moments, unfortunately, don't happen anymore. You know, the Seattle thing doesn't happen anymore.
No.
And it's unfortunate because there are a lot of great musicians out there, better than what we're getting now. And unfortunately, just because they don't have like 500,000 followers on Instagram or TikTok and actually have talent and take the time to put into that talent and go work that talent. And instead of, you know, being a creator, they're trying to be out there doing what they're supposed to do. And they won't. And unfortunately, not enough of them will ever get the dues that they deserve.
No.
But Instagram, and don't get me wrong, man, I think social media is wonderful. It's a great tentpole. It's become a way of life. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But on the other hand, when everybody's complaining, it's like, well, the new Billie Eilish song sucks. It's like, okay, but why? You know, you have other options.
Yeah.
There's like, you know, there's 8 billion artists getting ripped off on Spotify daily. Flip a coin and pick one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the thing about that is the challenge for an artist has always been to stand out and stand atop among their peers in some capacity. And this has always been the challenge. And when the Beatles did it, there was no one else anyone could focus on, and they kind of started this game. And right now, there is more people in this world making music than ever before, and publishing it and putting it out, and 100,000 new songs a day on Spotify. And how do you stand out? How do you rise above this? And it's incredibly difficult. It is a monumental task. And so, like you said, support independent artists because of the amount of work they put in, and also because how much they care, and because you can really impact their outlook going forward. By supporting an indie artist, just yourself. And if you bring a friend, it's huge. That's how stuff happens. And talking about how, like, the old system worked, where the record label would be like, oh, now we're going to introduce you to this person. Well, they're kind of doing that now, but they're doing it only with, like, their single artists, because, of course, they don't believe in bands anymore. So now it's all about Post Malone and Taylor Swift introducing their friends, bringing a new person on.
And you know, like, and even like to their credit, at least if it's a friend and they're talented, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, look, Post Malone, like his music or hate or don't, like, dude's fucking talented. Like, you know, what was it, Stephen Terryberry, that guy who does weird guitar videos?
Yeah, man.
He did a deep dive on Post Malone. He's just like, She has no. Post Malone was in a metal band and like just like found footage of him with like long hair and 8 strings. Oh, and it was like,
So he's one
and
of
then there was that
those.
Nirvana set during the lockdown. It was just like,
Oh,
what?
yeah.
So at least at the very least, like dude's talented and doing it.
Yes.
I cannot disparage. I cannot say anything to the negative. And then once I found he was a killer guitar player too, I was like, this makes it a bit easier. So,
Right?
so,
And
but
him and
even Taylor Swift, you know what I mean? Like as much as I look, man, when I have two younger cousins, like they're in their 30s now, right? But I mean, when they were kids, and Taylor Swift was like this 16-year-old, I'm a country singer coming out kind of thing. It's like, I make fun of them for liking the little pop singer or whatever. But it was just like, dude, that chick was 16 and writing her own stuff, running her own business. Everyone kind of well, it's Planet Taylor. It's like, yeah, man, she did that shit.
yeah.
She is the one in 1 million of that generation that figured out how to make the system, being the music industry, work for herself. And then even later on, when she went full pop and everybody was like, well, we're going to keep her content. No, because she owned the masters, so she got it remastered. That way they couldn't take it. And then she made an even better business decision.
Brilliance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's top
Man,
level.
you think the Republican Party would pay her to be president for a change? Like, what are you going after Donnie for? Holy crap.
What a joke. I'm sorry. Like, this has become a hypocrisy. Politics has just become a giant hypocrisy, and everybody knows it.
Hey, you know what? It was said centuries ago. I don't know why nobody's caught on to this, and we'll move on after I say the statement, but there's a reason it's called the theater of politics.
Yeah. It's a whole lot of baloney.
So,
it's definitely true.
I,
So let me ask some questions about some of your songs here. So,
okie doke.
Yeah, because you just released, I guess it was a year ago, you released Nightmare or Nightmares.
Nightmares, yeah.
With Dave Traina, you did that with From the Damn Truth.
Yeah.
What was that experience?
Yeah, we did a lot of stuff with Dave.
What's that like working with Dave?
Dave is wonderful. I've known Dave since I was in high school. He does not remember it. We even did a couple songs on like a variety show and stuff like that. I'm totally name dropping him right now.
No, you're allowed to. He produced your song.
He produced anything, pretty much, other than like if you go on our Spotify, other than The Blues or In Your Hand. Everything else on our Spotify list at the moment was all done with Dave at the Freak Shop, and occasionally with Derek too, the other guy at the Freak Shop, right? Like they're the two guys of the Freak Shop. Dave is awesome. Like it's I did some time. I did a short span of time as a session musician, and I got to work with a lot of guys and. Some of our past drummers were like, still like university students be like, oh man, we can use a studio. They need a recording dummy and blah, 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 blah. So the more and more you do that, you catch on to stuff. And we've worked with Dave enough that whenever we do work with Dave, it's just like the first time, like especially recording all of 7 Days on a Train with him, he came in for 2 sessions. He sat down, took notes. He was like, we were going in there with 7. He's like, we're going to dump these 2. Don't throw them away, rework them later, whatever. Just let's concentrate on your 5 killers kind of thing. And we ran with that. And then round 1 doing that was just great. It was just great because Dave's very open to like pushing you. And as much as a lot of producers get, pushing me like, well, you should do this, like he's more like, well, what if, or would you be comfortable with? And it's cool because if you're a singer, you're a songwriter as well, right? Like that whole being precious with ideas and precious with how you sing stuff and precious with how but I wrote that word that way. So when it comes out like, or whatever,
forget about it. Crush that ego. Crush that ego.
Oh
right?
Man, and it's funny you mentioned Nightmares. I forgot which line it was. but that was like one of the songs we've been playing. We've been had it for a while. We've been playing it for a while. We really really enjoyed it. And then we got to the day we were tracking vocals for it. And I had like this, and it was the second time, and Vultures was the first time that this happened, and this was the second time. So I was like, I was a little less about it, but Vultures has such a bigger operation that went, and Vultures alone has such a bigger operation that went into that song that like, this one was a little more mild when it like came and cut me and shit, right? So like there was one line, I think it was like in the second verse or something. I'd been used to singing it a certain way for like a year and change, and Dave's like, so we're just, so I was talking to Tibbs because Tibbs is very much a producer, our drummer Tibbs. He's very much a producer mine. He's always like the co-engineer, the co-mixer, and even the new album we're working on right now has all been him and just us. Like we've been very much clandestine on it and very much did it ourselves. We're still gonna get Dave involved in some capacity just to be like a consulting mixer or something like that, just to be like, run through it, flash off the notes. What do you think? But so Dave just tells me, so yeah, Tibbs, Tibbs and I were talking. You should slice out that line and do this instead. I was like, so then it's like another 45 an hour just trying to land that one line that you're just like, I'd rather super glue my junk to a bullet train and hit the wall dick first at this point, right? So like, and
but the results you get, it's what
the results,
it's worth it.
But that, exactly, there's a lot of times where like, we had an option for, I forgot which guy it was, but like there was, I forgot which one. One of my friends, his producer, we were talking into doing something with him. I'm like, yeah, but he's like way too calm for me. It's like, what? He's like, yeah, he's too calm for me. So what do you mean he's too calm for you? It's like, if you're not getting stressed or pissed or want to fucking hit your drummer or your producer or your bass player or one of them doesn't want to hit you or some shit, you're not doing it right. There's, if you can't hear in the result, especially for the people that had a part in recording it, if you can't hear the turmoil in that chorus, or you can't hear like it was a rough session, man. And not have the memory. I mean, you didn't do it right. Like,
yeah,
there's like, to me, like, like I've never, and maybe that's just my curse, because like every time I've gone to a recording studio or done anything, like it's like, man, this is really important. Gotta fucking like, come on. Like, I always have the most stressful thing happen to me about an hour and a half right before.
Yeah.
And then just makes me like, okay, so how do I not jump off a bridge instead today? So from, fights with the missus to a broken headstock on the way to the recording studio to arguments with friends and bosses on the way to festivals
now,
and shit.
Just a minute, good sir. Did you just blame the missus for a broken headstock?
No.
Okay.
No, a stressful event. I mean,
okay.
we might get into an argument beforehand,
okay, fair enough.
No. Completely separate events.
Before we were on air, you were saying you pretty much owe a whole bunch of this musical life to your wife. And that's true, right?
Oh, I owe pretty much my life to the guitar, and I owe dude, if no one had put a guitar in my hands, like, we would not be having this conversation. And not just because I wouldn't be a musician. I don't think I'd be.
True.
Like, there's, like, when they say, like, that guitar is your, for, like, when Stevie Ray Vaughan says the stories of, like, that was the girlfriend I never had. It was the best friend I could never talk to. It was the mom that wasn't there at the time, or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Like, I owe my existence. I owe everything I have. And even currently, because I met my wife at one of my shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if there was no Ray playing guitar, there would be no misses. There would be no two beautiful kids. There would be no my home in St. Leonard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like, and the fact that she puts up with my shit and she believes, and at least I make a little bit of money. At least the cover thing and the pub thing like helps pay the bills because the royalty checks really suck. But like but when she does get to come out on like out of town days and she sees the fans that show up. Oh, by the way, so I just have to put the Christy Whitney, Christy. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm saying it correctly this time. Moving on. She'll understand that. Don't worry.
I don't know what's happened, folks. Something big just
she'll-
happened. Something
She'll
massive.
understand.
That's just massive.
So, but and through it all, she keeps me in check and she keeps our entire life together, and and
Okay.
there's always the like, what would you do without me? It's like, I don't know, what the fuck would we do without each other? And that goes for like kind of everybody I keep in my life. It's like, especially my wife and my bandmates. I have made it so like, and maybe like a handful of friends that like, like you guys are like my family. Like there's like I have cousins that are blood, whatever. You guys are like my family. Like that. You know what I mean? I have those tears where like I have my friends and like I don't disparage them, and I'm so grateful to have them. But like that inner circle that I keep, like my wife, like those handfuls of like close friends that aren't musicians, which are really hard to find in this line of work, and like a handful of them, I virtually made it that like I didn't surround myself with people I can live with. I surrounded myself with people I can't fucking live without.
Oh, is that a song lyric? Is that a song lyric?
I'm probably gonna have to toss that into a country album at some point.
Get it in there, man.
Yeah.
Heartstring puller. And
this is a registered trademark on this show. Warren is a co-songwriter just for the fact. There you go.
Sure, I'll take it.
And most of the time the stresses that'll come, especially between my wife and I, is because of what I do, and sometimes I'm a selfish prick about it because I'm a lead singer. What do you expect? But she's amazing, and I'm blessed in my life. The broken headstock has nothing to do with her. She would most likely throw like 6 bottles of liquor at me before she goes after one of the guitars. She knows that's like holy ground. You don't do that. So, she can throw a hammer at my head. I'll take it. Just don't touch the Les Paul.
Is Vultures Vinyl Heroes best song? Is it your best song, or is it just your most streamed song?
You know what? Look, I'm gonna say it's our most successful song, and that one stands to reason because that one, like I was mumbling about before, right? That song is no. I've told this story. I don't know if I've told it like in interviews or podcasts or anything like that, but that song has what I call the $1,000 bass line. And it was more than just the bass line. So we wrote the lyrics, we wrote the song. We had a set manager at the time, and and also, especially to the credit of the success of the song, she was very much part of that success. Like she has a hand in that success, and I will never remove that. So we record the song. We're with Dave recording it, and like Dave's like digging into this and digging into that. And he's like, all right, well, what if we do this? Can you take that line out and just say this instead? I'm like, that was the first time I went the pressure thing, but I'm like, okay, and it's just like taking one word out, but it's like, no, good.
I love that you go through that like me. To be honest, when I'm on this podcast, I talk to so many people, and I always try and tell them about the whole producer experience and how being pushed is so much a part of the experience for me now. And,
yes,
and having
you have to be,
and having the song pre-prodded and to go through that with them and have it tore down and built back up, and everybody, like you said, like there's magic involved. Like this super killer bass line emerged out of the fog, and you were just like, oh, this song has something special.
Oh no, fog, dude. Wait, no. Wait, no. So we track the vocals, we do everything for it, and then we get the mixes, and I'm listening to it for like 3 days straight. And like Dave is like messaging, so guys, what do you think? Guys, what do you think? Guy, like I'm not answering him. I'm not answering the guys in my band. I'm not answering the manager. I'm just like listening to all this. And so finally, like, I think it was like day 3 or something like that at night at like 9 p.m. I like text him like, my nuts or do the bass and the vocals suck or something like that. I wasn't happy. I was nowhere fucking near happy with the vocals. And like I'm going like, is the bass line like a little like what's with the bass? It's like thin, and it wasn't what he's playing. It's just like, and the drummer and I'm a gearhead. Like I'll give you a quick tour of like just the room we're sitting in. We're not like, this is my home studio, right? Like, and so I'm a fanatic, and like I've got basses, more pedals than I know what to do with. Like it's a disease. It's a disease. It's better than heroin, but it's like it's still a disease nonetheless. Um, and like so like I'm always like trying to coax my bass like buy this 5 stringer, get this 8 string. He doesn't. But he does have like a space station of a pedal board that's been gradually growing throughout our career together, right? And we got him in with octaves and overdrives and fuzzes and all this shit and whatever. Like we just like and like we'll take turns if we're trying. Like Tibbs will sit there and Costa's playing. It's like, all right, Louis, like, yeah, okay, go. And like I'll twist the knob. The other one's like tweaking this, or like we'll switch it out and stuff like that. And just looking for that right kind of like you listen to that bass line. So like when I say like that bass line's the $1,000 bass line, because like we had to go back and like do it. And I think they might cornhole me for this, but that was like a day long, just the bass alone, to go back, rip up the bass and do the bass all over again. Cause the original one was done up against the drums at the same time. We used to record drums and bass at the same time, which was really cool. Cause you get that pocket, right? But to go back and like, we kept some parts of it, but then like he went back in, just like Tibbs had figured out like this monster on the bass, and it just sounded great. When it got to the vocal, I was just like, I hate those vocals. I hated the vocals. And I was just like no.
I think
there's some,
man, you've got great vocals, and I think
no, on the version that's there now. I'm still talking about like preliminary mix.
Yeah.
Like came in, I'm like, we're retracting the vocals. He was looking at me like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like no.
Yeah.
And I don't, and that was, and the day I went into track those, like what's on the recording, our manager was just like, man, she was pushed. I not just to where the song got to, but like the recording of the song, right? She took me to that place where I had a target to look at and be pissed off at, and like, you just go for the mic, and like even Dave was like, you keep going, let's do it, keep doing it. And but when and all of a sudden we get it mixed, we get it mastered, we're super, super happy with everything about it. COVID hit.
Yeah. What year? What year is this again? 2020, right? Yeah. So the reason I asked is because we released our song "Crazy" that did the best for us in 2021, and now.
By the way, your bass player looked gorgeous as a mermaid. I just want you to know that.
He's reoccurred as a mermaid a few times. It's a reoccurring part.
I know, but like I saw the video, I watched the video for "Crazy," and I was just like,
he is beautiful. There's no doubt about it.
Surf green P bass, and he dresses up like a fucking mermaid.
Very majestic. Very majestic. But yeah, I just wanted to know if you had that similar experience to myself, where it's like every time like I go back to the studio, I want to outdo that song. But it's been but it's been several tries, and I can't quite outdo it. But I feel like it brought the rest of the music up to its level. Like, so now everything is kind of hovering around it. And I was just wondering if you feel
Yeah,
the same way. If like you feel like it's hard to outdo vultures, but you feel like everything is coming up and hovering around it.
you know what? Fuck, that's a good. Oh
Or
man, that's a good
or
one.
is it just
That's
promotional? Is
that's
it
good.
I mean, like you said, a big part of the music industry and a big part of this is promotions and how a band is able to acquire hype, how a band is able to
Well,
do these things.
but you see, like that. Okay, so one, there's the competition thing, right? It's like, well, you got to outdo this guy, and outdo this guy, and outdo this guy. This is just talking about like the other band situation, right? Where it's like, I understand that maybe older bands and the older generation want to still sell their tickets and everything like that, but it's like you can't forever, and you're gonna need help. So at least find the band and not just be like, hey, it's a promotional thing, but we're gonna stick like, the Aerosmith Black Crowes thing, It's like we're gonna use them because they're the hot item that sound like, a new version of us and la la la. Like, but we're still gonna treat them like dog shit or whatever, right? And then in turn, they did the same thing. They did it to each other, buddy. Like, you know, like come on, like the Oasis thing is like 5 shows tops. We're done.
You
You know
think
what I mean?
so?
It's like who know? I don't.
Dude, that
Mm,
would break a
you
lot of
know,
hearts. That would break a
I know,
lot of
I know,
hearts.
but it's like, but again, like, what's
Jane's Addiction.
it's what like, but and what sucks about that, it was working. They were selling out. It was working well, and it's just such internal dysfunction that just. And then you hear the stories about Dave Navarro. It's just like, after Taylor Hawkins died, we were doing something, after he died, I couldn't play for like a year and change. It's like, oh. And the worst part is you guys are like older gentlemen. Fucking act like it.
It kind of looked funny, right? Like these old guys on stage going at it. Or at least
Like,
the singer guy, I can't remember his name right now.
like,
Perry, I
like,
think.
work with me on this,
Yeah.
right? If, like, let's say, for example, right, what's his name? Bruce Dickinson, right?
Yeah.
Like, Bruce Dickinson runs marathons and all this shit on stage, right? And then he's observant enough that, like, if he sees somebody smoking, and I really appreciate this because he'll go after the guy smoking a cigarette and not a joint. So, um, he'll save your lungs, but he won't impede on your good time. I think that is very, very honorable, especially all things considered about his hierarchy of maintaining himself and whatever. That's just fucking sweet, right? But on the other hand, if you got a guy like Dickinson who's like literally like running 30 miles an hour the whole time he's playing to stop and be like, put your cigarette out. You can't do that in here. I won't fucking stand for it. They didn't have to do with it. If you're smoking weed, blow it that way. They need it, kind of thing, whatever. Perry Farrell can't just be like, guys, wait, stop. Can we turn them down and just mine up a little? Really? You have the power. No, I'm gonna go hit my guitar player, fuck up the rest of the tour, put all the crew, lighting, technicians, grip, rigging guys, truck drivers out of commission and make them scramble to find work. Or they're all under contract anyway, and I'm about to lose more money than I was about to make this tour anyway. So, right? So, again, tabloid conjecture. You're just a fucking 62-year-old crybaby. I don't know, man. It's just indie musicians have it so much worse.
Oh yeah, well
Like,
we can't afford to do that stuff. There's
stop. And then the kicker, right? Where they're uploading shit.
Yeah.
To be like, YouTube, look at this new riff, or look at this. Look, I did a version of Because You Love Me from Celine Dion, but I'm a guy or whatever, right? No. Instead of like you posting something that'll be useful, I got to see about how a 63-year-old singer who was halfway wasted, and you can see he's halfway wasted, went up to his guitar player who was in his fucking zone, playing a guitar solo because that's what his job is, and just got like punched and moved and sacked and all this shit just because, like, it's like, do you want me to scream back at you? Tell the sound guy. What's up?
Did you play or did Vinyl Hero play at Gussapalooza this summer?
Not this summer. We played last summer.
What was that experience like? I've always wanted to know what the Gussapalooza thing was like. Is it worthwhile? Was it fun? Was it wacky?
You know what, man? I can't comment on the wacky part. That's just me. I had
I have no idea.
you
I've
know,
never done it, and I've never spoken to anyone who's been a part of it, so I just don't know what it's like.
really. Oh shit, no. Honestly, it was I was really impressed by how big it was.
Okay.
Actually, to be great, because they had like their two. You go on once, like when you drive when you. I can only speak because I was an artist that day. So it's like when you drive in or whatever, you drive in kind of behind the two stages, and like they have their two big stages side by side.
Nice.
And there is on the other side of the grounds, they had, and this from when I was there, and it could have changed
Of
this year. I
course.
have no idea, but from speaking from when I went, they had like what looked like a barn turned into a semi venue kind of thing, and they had like their unplugged sets there that I thought was just absolutely really cool.
Yeah.
The organizers were really sweet. They had a lot of great food trucks. I watched my drummer like plow fucking 3 or 4 Korean pogos. Like he went to town on different flavors every time. Like I was pacing myself. I had too many food trucks to try, so I was just like, no, one of each, please. Yeah, they had kiosks with like stuff for sale. There was radio station people that were there, very supportive, very communal. Again, we played what I call like the dinner shift kind of thing, which is usually between the 5 to 7. I think we're on at like 5:15, 5:30. So it was still sunny. It was still nice outside. A lot of people just kind of like lounging in the grass,
Yeah.
kicking back, having a good time.
Yeah.
It was a really nice mix of, I think we were the first like hard band of the day that day. I don't know about the rest of the festival.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a couple of other rock bands. It was really a nice mix between like country rock and rock bands. Like they had a really, from that time that I went, there was a really good mix between like country rock and just like rock bands. It was really cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
And then if you go to like to where the barn was, like there was like acoustic acts and everything like that. It was really nice.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
Food everywhere, coffee kiosks, the radio stations, people selling clothes, ponchos, merch, hats, instruments, whole bunch of stuff. It was really like great experience.
Awesome.
I just learned I got to bring my amp everywhere I go.
I didn't want to imply that it was wacky. I just had no idea what it was like. And I have experienced a wacky festival where I've gone and things just sort of were a little bit weird. Things were sort of done a little bit on a different way. So that's all I was asking.
Oh,
But what you just
oh,
described.
that's what you meant by wacky.
Yeah.
No, that was
Everything
no.
sounded on the up and up. Everything sounded very professional and awesome.
Very honestly, dude. I really for the indie festivals we do get to play, like I'm really hoping we get to do the 10th anniversary. Joe Matthews, I'm talking to you. I really hope we get to do the Voodoo 10th anniversary this year. That I would love to go back for Joe. And honestly, Wendy yelled at us one year because we didn't have any V-necks, and then we made a bunch of V-necks, and then we couldn't get one out to Wendy at the time. So like I'm just going like, yeah, we're trying. So like I don't know if we can coax it by like, we have T-shirts for you. Put us back on. But hopefully when the new singles start dropping, move stuff. But for all the indie festivals that we get to play at, it's like I kind of look at it as the album thing. It's like if you're on an independent festival kind of thing and it's not a little wacky or weird, like you're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
You've got to see some weird shit. You've got to see some wacky shit. Otherwise, what was the point?
Why did you do rock and roll? Wow.
It's like, and what's really, like, and even at that, it's just like, even for my kids, it's like, Daddy, where you going? I'm going to play a show. All right, whatever.
So,
but then if I come back and like I did something weird or cool, it'll be, oh, and then you went on stage and be like, oh, that's cool. So
Yeah, no. So like one time I showed up for a festival like way out somewhere like many hours away, and we got there and there was just like a bunch of trailers on this in this farm area, and there was like Mennonites and also Amish people living on either side of this farming area. And everyone so as soon as we got there, this guy came out and he brought us into the house and he was like, yo, whatever you want, whatever you need, I got it. I got like 30 bottles of tequila right here. Like, open up these cabinets, and it was legit, like, just filled with bottles of endless tequila, because that was his drink of choice. And then he was like, yo, but seriously, whatever you want. I got a brick of Coke. I got whatever you want. Here. Yeah. I was like, here's my girl here. Her name's Lucinda or whatever. And she's this like 60-year-old or 55-year-old, a little bit rough on the outside, but she's still got her fake boobs. And you could tell she used to be some kind of a stripper. And he's like, whatever you need, she's right here. And I'm just like, I don't know if I made
That's a Harold and Kumar moment all the way, man. Like, whoa.
Like, so I've experienced like festivals like where I've shown up and it's been like, oh, what did I get myself into kind of deal. And
it's like, did that just happen?
You're right. You just have to roll with the punches and just like have fun and protect yourself. Like, at the end of the night.
And usually...
I'm in that trailer and I'm locked up at the end of the night. I didn't want to partake in a whole lot of the festivities afterwards just because I was just worried about things going off the rails, but that's the joy of being in a rock band.
Well, and especially when you're in situations like that, right? It's just like as weird and as uncomfortable and like just kind of disconcerting as it could be. It's just like, this is my lady Trix. If you need anything, she'll just do it for you. It's like, no, but I mean, you also like that's totally the negative. You also have to look at the other side of it. It's just like, they invited us to play here. If this guy's offering me like anywhere between bottles of water, a brick of cocaine, and possibly his better half, as long as no one's touching my equipment or messing with me or my bandmates.
She said that she loved drummers, and as soon as she said like, oh, I love drummers, I was like, he's right here. Like, shoved him like right in front, like.
Yeah, and meanwhile, 5 minutes before you're supposed to go on stage, it's like that episode of The Simpsons. Like, hey, where's Joey? Come on, Mrs. Krabappel. I really need my drumsticks. Like, come and get him.
Exactly. Okay, I want to ask you if I'm way out of line here. I listened to some of the songs, and I want to ask if what I...
Sure.
Okay, so Sledgehammer. I got the vibe of Aerosmith. Did Aerosmith influence Sledgehammer at all? Because what I'm asking is no.
So the reason you're the first person ever said that.
The reason I'm asking is because you have a jogging line. You have a jogging line in that song, and of course Aerosmith makes that jog super popular, and so that's why.
Which line? Sorry, what?
On Sledgehammer. Yeah. So in that song, I heard like a jogging guitar pattern at one point. Maybe I'm off. Maybe it's a different song, but I thought so.
Like a down. Okay, no. No.
Okay. Here's another one.
Aerosmith is like Aerosmith's my favorite band of all time, and that has never, ever once crossed my mind, especially about Sledgehammer.
Okay.
Because
that's what I got. I immediately was like, ooh. No, and so then Keith Richards, your song Keith Richards,
yeah.
I got you're gonna love this. So what I got from that was Marilyn Manson and J.J. Wild. I felt that the beat pattern of that song had like the bass line or that driving rock sound. It just depends on the vocalist to me a lot of the times, how a song will end up coming out.
Oh man, so, we're gonna get so wasted when we hang out.
I mentally try and like remove the vocalist out of the song and then go like, okay, so what's left? Yeah. Who comes in? How does this then transpire?
First of all, thank you. I like JJ Wild, but like I was around. Maybe nowhere near as famous, but that song came out way before she did.
I'm just saying, I just got vibes like that, Ego, I got, Real TV, I got I got Foo Fighters from that. But also, like, I got a lot of different vibes from that area, from that timeline. But there's just one part in that song that really brought out the Foo Fighters feel for me.
Sure.
And then...
The bridge?
Yes, exactly. And then in Vultures, I get a little bit of, Queens of the Stone Age.
Okay.
I've got a little bit of that coming
Yeah.
out. And so like the reason I say this is because in your bio for the band, for Vinyl Hero, it says that like you can hear many, many sounds in your band, and like you guys don't go for like one or two influences. And I just wanted to say I got that. What I got was many sounds coming out, and and I was and like you're saying, like you're like no, but I think that's because you are making some really, really good quality rock music. I think you're underrated. I think Vinyl Hero is underrated. And I'm going to be honest with you.
You're gonna make me cry,
I
man.
think your voice is underrated, and you're blending in a bit too much to the background here, man, because you're fucking good. And yeah, so I just wanted to say that I got a whole bunch of different.
I'm gonna do things in front of a mirror, back like candle lit now. That like I don't want my wife to see. So like, just want you to know later on, I'll be thinking about you.
Hey man, thank you. But I'm being sincere. I do think
Oh,
that you're one of the indie
dude,
artists that I've researched and gone through, and you're episode 60. So I've been researching a lot, and I do feel like you're one of the rock artists who really stands out to me as wow, Vulture should be known by a few more people. And not only that song, but there's several there that I was like, this is high quality, very, very, very high quality writing. And I totally agree that at first when I read that in the bio, I was like, how can you say that you're not trying to take, you know what I mean? I thought it was a little bit almost not cocky, but I was just like, maybe they didn't, And then I read it and I was like, and I listened and I was like, no, it's totally right. That's totally right.
we see like that's it. A long time so we used to be a four piece. We used to have a keyboard player. We've gone through a couple guitar players. When we did the 7 Days on a Train EP, we were a four piece, and it was awesome. And I miss those days because like they were some fun fucking days, man. Those were great, especially when I had the other guitar player, man. Both the guys that we had intermediately, that well, one was intermediate, but one was there for a while. Rami was the one that was on 7 Days and carried out for a while, and my friend Frank was also another guitar player, played with Everything After Zero and a whole bunch of other people, like just great musician. He was more intermediate, but like for the times that we were a four piece, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And my whole thing was that, my our old drummer had like this beat where like Keith Richards, you were saying, right? Like it has like that
Yeah,
and
exactly. Thank you. See, you
yeah,
could put into
yeah,
words what
yeah,
my mind is thinking.
yeah. No, we're musicians, right? We just use sound.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah.
but the grasp of the grasp of it is that
See, and JJ uses that
what
beat too. You're 100%
yeah,
right. So that
you're welcome, JJ.
that
No.
is what I was
Uh,
hearing, man. Is that
yeah,
kind of jog or pattern in that drum beat?
yeah. The And the thing is that like when our current drummer Tibbs like showed up for like his audition, he's like, I listened to you like demo you sent me of like Keith Richards, and that you used to have like like kind of the same thing but more like a shuffle on a like more like
Yeah.
on a hat and kind of thing, and it had like a really really cool vibe, and it was fucking really good. Our previous drummer before Tibbs was excellent as well. He was great, and when they finally met, it was a beautiful moment. It really was. Everything came full circle because they're both so tall. Um, in height, we found circumference. But Tibbs, like his audition, he came in. He's like, "Do you mind if I fuck with that for a little bit?" I'm like, "Look, go nuts." And we had the other guitar player, and like that was like his favorite song of ours, and he was just like, "All right." And then like we just started, he just like, and it was like, okay, well, this is my band now. So like, and we even wanted to change the name at that point. And it was just because like our name is old. Like we've been around for a long fucking time, right? And I think, and if anything, one, like, to side note it to like the lack of success or whatever the shit, right? One, whatever, however people can deem it, I've always maintained this. Like one, we suck at marketing. We're not marketers. We're musicians. All right. You want to see a rock band, and I don't, and I make, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else. No,
But maybe that's
that is for the ears and the eyes of the beholder. But my mantra, my entire existence as a musician has been this: I am not out to reinvent the wheel. I want to just make sure people get a better fucking wheel. And I don't, and honestly, I don't care if it comes. I mean, I would love for it to come from me because like I have a lot of wheels to give, you know. Um, but I mean, like, look, like you guys are a wonderful example, man. Like I like my side noting question to you is how often do you get told you sound like we were just talking about Chris Robinson from the Black Crowes.
Yeah, sometimes I find that my producer's vocalist sounds even more like him. And
Okay.
so sometimes I get weird references sometimes. Sometimes people will say like Lane Staley, but that's because of the warbliness of my voice, I think, at times. And then sometimes I get Paul Rogers from Free. Sometimes
I get I get I get a bit of that whole like your natural attack kind of thing is very much a Paul Rogers, Chris Robinson thing.
yeah.
Where the lane comes in is that you get these moments where you just banshee it out,
Yeah.
and it's fucking like, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Trust me, man. Had I been in your town, you'd have been the singer I was looking for. So,
Oh man. Well, we're going to play shows together in
oh,
the
we
near
have to.
future. And I want to tell everybody right now, go stream some Vinyl Hero, go see them live, go see Ray with his cover band live. I'm going to put links below, and I want you folks to clickety click and go have some fun. And I just want to say thank you so much to the very
Can I?
of course, go ahead. The very awesome Ray Howard. Ray, what do you want to say?
Sorry, because I did have that one question I wanted to ask you,
Of
but
course, go ahead.
I did because you were well, no, that was my about the Chris Robinson thing.
Oh yeah.
But the but like what you were saying, like, you know, I couldn't pinpoint it. I couldn't, you know, it's like we soak up all this shit, and like, and that's, and like, that's, and I, it took me a long time to understand why we kept the name, and here it is.
I think it's a great
Is that
name.
it is a great name. It is a great name. I can't shit on the name, man. I really can't, you know, and it's, everything is for a reason. And it took me a long time to do, you know, I've been writing songs for a long time. Some of them never saw the light of day. Some of them, whatever. I'm still in process. And I had a friend or an ex-girlfriend or something, and she used to tell me, she's like, your stuff's really cool because it sounds like regurgitated rock that's not regurgitated.
Interesting.
And I was like, and it took a long time. I was just like, but, you know,
it's a
and fast forward
compliment.
to like when we, yeah, no, but it took me a long time to understand that as a compliment.
I get it.
And then fast forward to when like we started, like my wife's favorite song of ours is Ego Trip. And she listens to it because, and she loves it. She's like, I love it because it sounds like all my favorite songs like smushed together. And it's never my intent. It's never the plan. It's not like you were saying, like, you know, the Sledgehammer thing has like this Aerosmith thing. It's like, again, Aerosmith, my favorite band of all time. I never, ever once ever put that into any stratosphere of thought when we did it. When we started covering that song, we did it our own way. So much so that when we recorded it and we wanted to release it, we had to send it to Peter Gabriel's people. We had to wait for approval. And they were just like, this is fucking fresh. This is it. And but to me, to me was just like, is like the week right before we had our release, they had like a Sirius XM performance of fucking Harry Styles doing it with like half his band were girls with 3 keyboards and everything. So he literally did like Peter Gabriel, but Harry Styles. You know, I was just like, we had to think about like, how would a 3-piece band have written that song? Like that's where the thought came from. It's like, man, I don't want a keyboard player again unless I have the budget. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know 6 backup singers that good that can be like, it's just not going to happen. We had to think like, how do we do this as us? You know what I mean? And for the most, like, and for the most part, like you were saying, like that melting pot. It was just like I got exposed to too much and had too many, like even long before I was playing guitar, right? Like my when I was a kid, my dad, when we lived out in Owen Sound, he used to work on boats and stuff like that. And my mom grew up in a house full of country musicians and 50s pop and 50s rock and 50s country and rockabilly and all that stuff. So like, like up until like certain moments in my life, like most of every music I listened to was Hank Jr., Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, Hank Snow, like Buddy Holly, like Richie Valens, all of that shit, right? So this one time I'm with my dad and he's like, we're going to the docks, come with me, and he like slaps in Pump from Aerosmith, and I'm just going like, it was Permanent Vacation, Permanent Vacation. I'm going like, all right. On the way back, he slaps in Appetite for Destruction, and it was,
Yeah.
But then when I started finally really getting into guitar and doing it stuff like that, right? Like then my stepfather at the time, like he was a huge Pink Floyd fan, and I was just like, oh, he's no Slash, but that Dave Gilmour is really interesting and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like it was just, everything came into this melting pot. Like, as much as I, like metal or whatever, I started working at Steve's Music Store. Man, I learned my lick. I learned about open tunings, and I learned about like, okay, why do I have to respect Neil Schon from Journey? What's so special about Don't Stop Believing? And then when you like, oh, I, as much as I have like those 5 guys that like really made my playing, or the 5 bands that like I can't live without, that my desert island, whatever. Dude, I listened and wanted to be inspired by whatever I could. Ever since I've had kids, I listened to a lot more pop and a lot more, fucking Disney soundtracks and everything like that, right? But on the other hand, I mean, like, hey, if Weezer and Panic at the Disco can do versions of songs from like Frozen 2, why not?
Yeah.
It's just good music. I like Katy Perry. I don't mind. I don't appreciate the 808 that jumps in every second chorus or whatever, but it's my kids enjoy it. It's catchy as shit. I find that place to respect it, to appreciate it. But the thing is the name Vinyl Hero is just like we do things in an old way, but we are that melting pot of like, I absorbed, when it comes to the Queens of the Stone Age thing, it's just like, it was rated R and Songs for the Deaf and,
Yeah.
the era Vulgaris and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like Alice in Chains, it's like, as much as I love Lane Staley, it's like William Duvall is fucking amazing to listen to. He is phenomenal to watch. And then there's that side of me that goes digging into the country thing. It's like yeah, man, we kind of are that melting pot of just, we took everything we could, and like, especially like my drummer Tibbs, like he came from Europe. So it's like he wanted to be in a band, and he wanted to like just do, like I either want to be in Monster Truck or be something like Monster Truck, you know what I mean? And like here we are, and he's, like it's like the education of it all. I have to do a deep dive on King's X every now and then, just when I'm like, I need that groove, I need that weird chord, I need that sound, you know what I mean? So like when someone, when, especially someone who is a musician and a singer can come up to me and go like, it's like, dude, I'm getting like this weird vibe out of it and all this, like, for once, for once, it's not like the Nickelback reference, which I'm really, really happy about. And I'm like, and look, I can't shit on Nickelback, okay? Because you ever think that maybe for a second they think you suck? Like we're always quick to shit on them. It's like, they can shit on you too. What'd you do that's so great? They sold millions of records. Some of us work at Costco. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like, you suck.
You're totally right,
like
man.
that.
You're totally right.
And define success, define like all this shit. it's like you gotta love it. You gotta love it, man. And that's kind of the beef with everything. You gotta love it to do it. So when I get guys like you that'd be like, I'm trying to pinpoint it, but there's just it's like and I appreciate and I love the fact you're like, that's a fucking arrogant statement. You took the best of everything. It's like, oh shit, okay, you did.
I think you did, man.
You know what I mean? Like
I think you did.
we did
I think you're very good at it. I think
well, I appreciate it, and dude, we're looking forward to to throwing the new stuff soon. We're gonna try and finish recording it as soon as possible. I promise. See, this is what I deal with. See, this is what I deal with. You're showing everybody the hollow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hey.
And you get to see the madness of equipment as well. So like, yeah,
Woo!
yeah.
Happy Halloween.
Hello, YouTube and podcasting world. This is my family.
Beautiful.
Yeah, my future rhythm section right here. Got my bass player, my drummer, tour manager, and trumpet player. So like, we're
man, oh
full,
man.
Yeah.
Just wanted to show you their Halloween.
Good. They look amazing.
They look great. Thanks so much.
So
thanks for showing the costumes.
Yeah, and then like the rest of the insanity and shit. So like
okay, well,
and the Marvel wall.
Ray, we're gonna definitely have you back on, man. This has been
and I want to be there in person for it. I'm sorry, Oshona.
That's okay. We're having a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun.
Fuck, dude, I had so much fun, man. Thank you.
You're gonna come back
so
on.
much,
we're gonna do this again. We're gonna do some shows together. Thank you so much to Ray Howard. Thank you for watching, folks. And we're going to see you all next time on All Worn.
Out of curiosity. Out.
What was the curiosity? What do you want to say?
I was curious. Has anybody ever asked you who is Sari and how did you tame he or she?
Yes, and we have been messaged by 6 or 7 real Saris, like people who live their lives and this is their real name. And they all have the same message to us. And their message is always the same, which is you could never tame me, or you could never tame Sar. You could never, it's always along those lines. And then,
that's so good.
So now, when
good.
someone messages us with that, we send them back I send them back a screenshot with like the names blacked out, but like the exact same message is sent over time. And so Sari is Mother Nature. Sari's mother is Mother Nature. Mankind is trying to tame her, but he never can. He never will. Also, taming Sari is a sacred dagger from Malaysia, and it made the user float on air when they fought. Or it's a kris, a bejeweled sacred kris. And it had magical abilities. And it translates from Malaysian to English to flower shield. So technically, the name of our band is Flower Shield.
Flower Shield.
Yeah, but it's taming Sari. So, and it has a little duality. But anyways, thank you for the question. And
thank you for the answer.
Come back on again.
All worn out anytime.
All worn.
Out. Oh,
bye, everybody.
Later, buddy. Take care, man. Thank you.